inform you all that feedback link of all the technical sessions will be shared in the chat box. So you all are advised to fill the same within the allotted time to mark your attendance for that particular session. And there will be a reviewers of each technical session, schedule of which has been shared in the group. So let's begin with the first technical session, which is on the topic Writing for Research Projects to Secure Research Funding by Dr. Jayanti Datta. Dr. Jayanti Datta is a faculty in Human Resource Development Center, Punjab University, Chandigarh. She has been working in the field of professional development of teachers for the last 20 years and has worked with more than 5,000 teachers till date. Her fields of interest are training, community education, and popularization. She has been the recipient of National Award for Film conferred by the CSIR New Delhi, and also a recipient of award in Literary Vision conferred by the President of India in 2000. She has 23 years of experience in faculty training in higher education and coordinated 150 training programs and was a resource person in 125 workshops and seminars. She is also an editorial team member of Canadian Journal of Higher Education. She has a vast research experience with 40 research papers and many books to her credit. She has developed 4 MOOC modules for Swayam portal and also recorded an e-lecture for telecast on VyasChat. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today. So may I request Dr. Jayanti Datta? Now may I request Dr. Jayanti Datta to continue?
Yeah. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the GGDSD management and all the faculty members who have organized this FDP and given me an opportunity to speak to so many participants from so many different states. Because nowadays we are not having any kind of offline interactions. So even online, I think connecting with your peers and colleagues, it seems really very therapeutic and very healing when we can actually speak and discuss and share our things with everybody. I was just listening to your inputs and I found that the FDP that you have planned is quite nicely planned and everything you have taken care of and of reviews and feedbacks and reviewers and all the timelines. And I'm really happy to see that FDP that you are conducting. It's not only but also all the disciplinary things or the administrative things are also being done properly because unless we do these things properly, no FDP can be actually successful. So I'm really happy. Okay, okay. Can you, if it's not clear, is it all right now?
Ma'am, it is clear.
If it is not clear, I would. Okay. So usually what happens, I have seen most of the time people are very much eager nowadays online to do webinars and to do FDPs. But I find that the FDPs are not of much value because as soon as we have finished with the FDP, with the webinar, we are too much in hurry to fill the feedback form so that our entry is registered and then we are eligible to get the e-certificate. And the things that we learn, it take a backseat. So just before going into into the theme on which I'll be speaking, I'll just take 2 minutes to talk about. Actually, these FDPs of 7 days cannot bring a very big change into the attitude or the knowledge of the attitude or knowledge of the participants. Yes. Hello. But what happens is these FDPs are these FDPs are used because they initiate us into new ideas. So if a participant is notes of the things, and also we must remember that these whatever we learned here is not only for us to internalize and to use and practice in our own careers, but in students are also to be benefited from this. So what we learned here, every day, I think it will help the participants if they can note down things which they will, when they go to their colleges or they back to their classes with their students, whether online or offline, they are going to implement with their students. So just with this advice, just begin with my presentation. So friends, I think Dr. Preeti, you have the PPT with you.
Yes, ma'am, we have your PPT. Shall I share it?
Okay. But you will run it? Yes, you can share. So friends, as we immediately get into this topic of how to get research funding for research projects, I would just like to say that usually whenever we have this session, finally participants tell me that it was not of much use, that they have not been able to use it much, because it's not only enough to write a research project, but it is very much necessary that we are into a research mindset. So that kind of research mindset is as much necessary as when we sow a plant. It is necessary to actually maintain the plant also, to give water every day, and from time to time give some kind of a nutrition to the plant also. So it is not only that we buy a plant and we just have it there as a decoration, but whenever, if we really want to have research funding, if we really want to have research projects and work on them, then we have to maintain an ecosystem of research. That ecosystem of research, yes, thank you very much. So yeah, thank you so much. So that ecosystem of research is very much needed. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you can go to the first slide. Yeah. So in my disclaimer, before I begin, there are certain disclaimers that I would say, and that is, we would like to, I would, though it is only 1 hour and 90 minutes, and also I think it's online, but still we would like to keep it hands-on. That means there are small exercises that I would like you to do, and you can just keep your notebook with you, and we can see that how much we can do things instead of just listening to me, right? And also, as I said, there is nothing new in it. If you just go on the internet and click on how to write a research proposal and get research funding, you will get thousands of hits, thousands of websites which will be able to tell you this. So what are we doing here? And in this 90 minutes, it is only touch and go. So please don't be disappointed if not everything is not covered. As I said, the objective of my session is to give you a small idea of how things can be approached and how you should actually go about it slowly, and you will be able to learn all by yourself. So that is my idea. Thank you. Yes. Okay. I don't know if yes, I would listen. Dr. Preeti, you must give me the feedback. If I am not
Sure,
audible,
ma'am.
please give me the
Sure.
feedback. Right?
Sure.
Okay. Yes. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, the first question is, why do we need to write a research proposal? Why there are different. One of the reasons you have already written here, that we to get a research funding. That is very right. But are there other reasons also for which we need to write a research proposal? There are many other reasons. What is the research proposal actually? For example, if we look at the word proposal, like it is an offer. Like we have this word, we use this word as in marriage proposal, right? So you have proposed, that means you have offered. So when we write a research proposal, that means we are offering to offering to do research, right? So that proposal can be written for many reasons. Next slide, please. Yeah. For approval from the supervisor, because when you go and want to do a research PhD, for example, you're a research scholar, you want to go for a PhD, and you approach a supervisor, the supervisor might ask you to write a research proposal, which then goes for approval, right? It goes for approval where? It goes for the panel of the admission board or to the research degree committee. Some to clear our proposal from the ethics committee also, in sciences, in many other subjects. So you go for your proposal has to go to the ethics committee also, and finally also to the funding agency if you are asking for funding. It is also written for self. Sometimes we write for ourselves also, and to avail some kind of an opportunity. Just remember that we don't write research proposal all the time for others, but we also write for ourselves, because if we want to write, if we want to do a research, it is always better to write a proposal so that we understand that what we are going to do. Next, please. Yeah. When we write for ourselves, right? How does it have you? I would suggest that you write it down for yourself, even if it is a very small project. And maybe you have done, if you are registered in PhD or you have done dissertation, it clarifies our thinking, right? When it helps us and create a blueprint, create a map, will be working. Even if it's a small research paper that you are writing, but even if you write a research paper, there would be a small research behind that. So if that research, for that research also, for a very small research also, you can create a blueprint of research, an outline of research, and that is actually a research proposal. So that research proposal helps us personally also. This I want to bring to your attention, that research proposal is not only always for others, for funding or for approval, but it helps a lot if we write it for ourselves also. Next, please. Yeah, next slide. Yes, thank you. So my question is, this is the task that I want to give to you. You have, right. Previous slide, please. Yeah, previous slide. The previous one. Yeah. So what I ask you to do is to write a, yeah, iske baad wali. Next, please. The task. Yes. So what you have to do, you have to write a research proposal. I give you the theme. You have to find out a title, write the research question, plan a research design, plan budget, timeline, and I would have given you 15 minutes for brainstorming. Yes, please. And 15 minutes for presentation, right? So we are not going to do that, but what we are going to do is, everybody on your notebook, please note down these things: that title, research research design, budget, and timeline. These 5 things you can note down. And now I'll give you the theme on which you will have to write it down. We can use the chat where people can give back their responses. I would say even we have around 80 participants here. Even if a few of you respond to this question, then we can get some good demonstration out of your responses, right? Okay, next please. So this is the theme, right? The theme is the role of college canteen in the nutritional, social, and intellectual domain of students, right? So first of all, to think of a research, of a proposal title of the theme. Now you can say that this can in itself be a title of the theme. How do we write a title of the theme? What are the things that we must write in the title? Yes. Next, please. Okay. I will come back to it, though I will leave you with this research question, and please have it in mind. So maybe after some time, I'll ask you to give me the title that you have thought about. Now, what happens is, when we submit a proposal, we have to demonstrate to the panel of the merit of the research question. We have to tell them that the question that I have picked up, the proposal that I am submitting of the research, it has got certain merits, right? And how do we do it? We have to clearly and succinctly, what does succinctly means? State our research question. That means very clear. clearly and lucidly. There should be no ambiguity in it. It should be very clear. As soon as somebody reads our title, they should be very clear about what do we want to do. And that clarity, that coherence should not only be in the title, but also in the aims and objectives, in the abstract, in the question, and in the hypothesis. So it would run through the whole project, right? And then we have also justified that the research question is worth answering. That means it is very important and significant, which usually what we call is rationale. Rationale means the justification of the question. The question that you have raised, you can always say just in justification that there was some gap, or nobody has looked into it, or it is very important for certain policy decisions. There can be different justifications. So why you have picked up a research question, the research question that you have picked up, there might be some reason in your mind why you have taken that question, right? And then you also show what you must have. Merit question. One of the important in which research project or proposal stands is if you are able to demonstrate the merit of the research question. Right? Next, please. Yeah, next line. Yeah, thank you. Okay. The second aspect of proposal is merit of the proposed method. One is the question, and second is the method. Now, you might have raised a good research question, but it does not become a very good proposal unless it is accompanied with a good methodology. All of us know, whether it is the science discipline, whether it is the social science, humanities, any discipline, but the method that we use in research is a scientific method. So that scientific method, the rigor of the method, all the things that we have to do objectively with replication, with all kinds of references, I think that research method has to be very clearly demonstrated that this is the way in which the research will be done. And it has to be clearly articulated. They should be logical and lead to credible data. It should lead, the method should actually lead us to some kind of collection or generation of data on which we will on which will stand the results and the discussion and the interpretations. It also leads us to it also asks us, when we submit this methodology, we also understand that there are certain limitations, or there are certain frameworks, outlines in which our study will work. So that boundaries of the study, that has to be given, and also some kind of potential hurdles are to be identified, right? Sometimes I have seen when students submit their proposal, they are very much shy. They shy away from giving the potential hurdles. For example, if you're doing a particular research, it is very much possible that you will not find enough respondents for that. Or maybe in certain area you are doing, where people will not come out with forthrightly with some kind of information. So these are potential hurdles. You must put those hurdles also, because that is the honest way to do it. And then you also give your own ideas of how you can overcome those hurdles, right? It is not that you have to be honest in whatever you present, and that honesty has to be reflected through your writing, through how you write and what you write. And also the methods are ethical. I think I don't have to emphasize much on this thing, that whether it is any discipline research, but the ethics are very important. It's not only how you do a thing, but also how you do it, whether you do it within the boundaries of righteousness. So that ethics is very much important. And nowadays, you know that there are certain committees, there are certain mechanisms. There are certain structures through which you have to pass your proposal, and you have to check. There are people who would say that if it is an ethical thing or not. Methods should also be doable and practical. For example, you cannot say that within 6 months I'm going to do this much work if it does not pertain to a very feasible and practical idea. So whatever you do, it has to be, or whatever you suggest and propose, it has to be in a very doable and practical way. You also have to show that you have a necessary expertise, that you are an expert. Sometimes what happens is we get the work that we have already done, so which helps us in demonstrating or giving an evidence of this work that you have already done. Maybe it is a small work, maybe you might have done a small dissertation in your master degree, and from there now you are expanding it. But even if you have done something, written about it, or gone with that idea somewhere, you can just show it or give it as a reference that you have an expertise in that area. And you can gain access to the required data. Timeline is realistic and you will be within the budget. As I told you, the timeline is also very important. I'll come to it later also. That you, if you want to show that though I'll take 100 questionnaire, then it has to be with not just say that I'll get it within a day, within 2 days. So that timeline is everything. I would like to say that it should be very commonsensical. About it, about writing a research proposal. What I suggest and what I want the students to do is be very common sense and just always think that if you would be the person, a person who is going to give you money, or if a person who is going to give you approval, then would you approve this proposal or not? That kind of thinking has to be always there whenever you are writing a proposal. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay. Now the third thing is, so we have done two things that you have to demonstrate. One is the merit of the research question. Second is the merit of the research method. And third is the merit of the researcher. Because this is also very much important. If they are going to, if somebody is going to give you funding, and if somebody is going to trust you with their money or their time or effort, then they must have this idea that you do really deserve to have that thing. You really deserve to be funded. You really deserve to have some kind of investment in you. Now, how do you show that? And what do they see? First of all, when we write a literature review, right? A literature review is very much important, and I find really sometimes very depressingly that students do not have the skill to write a literature review. What they do is just writing the whole literature or taking every paper and para-wise just writing down the summary of that literature. But it is not the literature review that is needed. A literature review is actually a story. You have to write it that way. You have to first of all find out how the literature that is there correspond to your own question, your own research question, or your own research. And then you have to back one. The previous slide, please. Yeah. So you have to show that in the literature, in the how that literature actually corroborates your research, how it points out that there's some kind of a lacuna or support or evidence or any kind of indication that earlier literature has with you. And you have to give the argument of the methodological process, and also the quality of the writing of the proposal is very much important. So look at this. Now your funder may be sitting in Delhi, your funder may be sitting in America or anywhere else. They might have never seen you and they will never meet you. But their decision to give you funding, give you money, give you some kind of an approval or permission can be done only through the proposal that is in front of them. So your proposal actually is you. So what if you want, whenever you go for an interview, you always give up your best. We dress up in the best manner, we speak in the best manner, and we put forth an impression which is really very good. Similarly, when we put a proposal, that proposal has to be the best that we can present to a person, because in it is reflected my own personality. If I put a proposal which has got grammatical mistakes, which is not presentable, then I think people would be free to assume that this person is not responsible or serious enough and is frivolous and should not be funded. So I always ask my students or participants that just consider that your proposal is equal to you as a researcher. So just remember this, that we have to demonstrate in front of the panel three things. One is the merit of the research question. Second, the merit of the methodology. And third, the merit of the researcher. And how we have to do it, these also we have already discussed. Okay, next now. Yes. So these are the elements of the proposal. Elements of the proposal means these are the things you will have to actually give in the proposal. Maybe most of the time it is a written proposal. So, and in many agencies, they have their own format. For example, earlier UGC minor research project was there, major research project was there. So there are form, or maybe the ICSSR projects are there. They already have their own formats. But even if they have their formats, they usually ask you these things only. So in one way or the other, you have to actually think about these things, right? So first you can read this thing. I am not going to read it again. And these are called the elements of the proposal. Next slide, please. Yes. So first of all, we come to the title. Now, how should a title be written? Everybody knows, clear and concise and ambiguous, right? It should also and context of the problem. That means it should be elaborate enough so that by reading the title, just remember, how do you read a paper? Whenever whenever there is a research paper in front of you, or let us say whenever there is a book in front of you, you first of all look at the title. If the title is not, if the title doesn't give you an idea, or maybe if it is vague, is confusing, then it is likely that you are not going to follow that book, or you are not going to read that paper. So it is very much important that we know how to write a good title. And I would say we can conduct a whole session on how should we write a good title. But usually it is a matter of practice, of sense, of element that are there. Because above all, a title should be very, very much interesting. And we are very much into writing very cliched and traditional kind of titles. We do not like experiment. Be playful with the title. It can be introduced. Have this study also. You can have this study. Just go on the maybe net or on in journals. Just try to find out the name of the title of the research. The title of the research. Try also to check them. And you find you most.
Sorry to interrupt.
There is an
Sorry
element
to
of
interrupt,
interest
ma'am.
in
In
it.
between your words.
There is, you can also do with yourself, share to go read the titles and reflect of the best and why. Okay.
Ma'am.
Just give me a minute, then let me correct my network
Sure.
again. Just a moment.
Yes, sure.
Actually, this network problem is always there. Yeah, right. Yes, please. Yeah, slide, please.
It's clear, ma'am.
Yeah, next slide down, please. We usually also have to give a summary or abstract. What happens is sometimes the whole proposal is not read by the evaluators because there are so many proposals. So what they do is they only ask the evaluators to read the abstracts. So therefore the abstract or the summary should be very well written, and it should be brief. Of course, it should be brief, and it should contain what, why, and how. We all know that in a proposal, in the abstract of a proposal, results are not there. Usually, when we write a research paper and when we write an abstract of that research paper that we have to publish in a journal or we have to send in a conference, then in the abstract, we have to give the results also and a little of interpretation also, and that makes the whole complete summary of the paper, but not in a research proposal. In a research proposal, we only have to write what we are going to do, why we are going to do it, and how will we do it. The results will, of course, not be there. Now, the best thing about an abstract is that it should be concise and it should be short. Now, look at the advertisements. You can get a clue or two from the advertisements that are there. If you look at the advertisement, you will find that they are very short, only in 10 seconds or 20 seconds or 30 seconds. What they are trying to give you is an idea of the product, a memorable line, and they are also giving you a kind of curiosity or a motivation so that you can go to the market and buy that thing. So within that 10 seconds, 20 seconds, they are packing so many things. So taking a clue from there, you can think of your abstract or your summary as if you want to sell your proposal through that. So then that is why it has to be short also, it has to be clear also, and it has to be interesting also. Again, I would say these things come through practice. It is not very difficult to actually do it because you, in the beginning, students find it very much difficult to actually write down. And for that, there are reasons why we can't write. Because most of the times in our education system, right from our school, in our college, until we come in our university, and then we come for PhD, we have original. Most of the time, people nowadays don't even write, students nowadays don't even write their diaries. They don't even write anything which comes near to an original question. In their yeah, in their schools or colleges, they have always written questions which have either been answers dictated by the teachers or they have been maybe taken from the net or somewhere else. But I would request all of you as teachers to inculcate in the students a habit so that they have this habit of writing something every day. Usually I ask my students that I always I comment on them that they might not have written a love letter also originally themselves, because they tell me that for everything templates are available, but we have to inculcate this habit of writing ourselves. If we can write originally, and language is not a problem. Some people say that we can't write in English or so, but if can you write good in Hindi? Can you write good in Punjabi? Or can you write good in your mother tongue? Any language. Because if you can write in one language, then it is not very much difficult. Nowadays, there are many ways or methods which through which you can translate things, or you can find help, you can find support, you can check the grammar, and there are ways to write in English. Language is not a problem. The problem is articulation. Whether are you able to write down something which is in your mind? Can you put it on paper? This is one of the exercises that you must do, right? So if you can do that, you can write a small summary or an abstract, and just think of that this is the summary that the funder is going to read and invest in you as a funding or maybe your time and effort, So that is how, and that is how the summary should be looked at. The summary or the abstract should be looked at. Okay, next slide, please. Right. Then we finally write the aims and objectives. Now, the one thing that we must remember about writing objective is that objectives are active verbs. They are verbs. Verbs means in Hindi we call it kriya, right? It is action word. Action word means that we always write something which we are going to do. For example, some of the verbs I have written here, and you can see that all these words are verbs. Okay. You are asking me, somebody is asking me to rejoin the session. Is it all right, Preeti? Should I rejoin the session? Or is
No,
it all right?
no, ma'am, it is all right. I think she's asking the participants to rejoin for their network problems.
Okay, okay, right. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because I find it really very disturbing in session. If the network issue is there, then all your efforts just go waste. Okay, so friends, then we write about the objectives. Now, objectives, again, as I said, they should be not airy-fairy. Airy-fairy means don't just write any kind of objective. Sometimes I find people writing many, 5, 6, 7 objectives. You don't need to actually increase the number of objectives. The number may be 2 or 3, but they should be very clear, very practical, and very doable, because it is through your objectives that you will show that your proposal has been done or not done, right? So that is why you have to think in your mind very clearly that what are the aims and objectives of my proposal and how I am going to achieve them. Next slide, please. Right. Now comes the research question or the hypothesis, right? Now, research question, as I said, is a question. For example, we discussed here one of the themes that I have given to you, on which we can discuss a research question. Now, what can be a research question in this? Yeah, do you remember? I will go back to it again and just okay. The question is the role right. I have put the question here. Yeah. So it is right. You can see the question is the role of college canteen in nutritional, social, and intellectual development of the students. So what am I trying to find out? Why am I trying to find out? What can be my questions? Yeah, can somebody put it in the chat? Just think about it. I will give you a moment's pause so that you can think about it. Yeah, anybody can people write? I think they're not disabled.
Participants can write, ma'am.
Yeah, participants can write. So what I'm asking you to write is, maybe you can write why we are doing it, or maybe the objectives, anything. Think about it. Think about first of all the theme, and then write about it. So that what happens is it becomes a two-way process, and we can have a little more interactive thing and more active thing instead of just listening. Yeah, it's a that theme that I have chosen. It's a very simple theme. While it is a very interdisciplinary theme, and people can write about it. So many people can think about it, and it crosses their boundaries. For example, you can see that so many subjects, people from so many subjects would be interested in this theme. Okay, nutritional aspects of the food provided by the college canteen, Very Kumar Chopdar has written. Yes. So one of the ways, and it from here you would see that from the theme emerge the objectives, and from the objectives emerge effects of canteen food on the intellectual development of the students, right? Yeah. Okay. One of the things you can see that the nutritional aspect is very easy to determine because it can be quantified, it can be checked and measured. But when we talk of intellectual development, how are we going to see that the impact? Maybe it's not about food only. What we have said to find out the impact of college canteen. So, does canteen provide a space for students to discuss freely, discuss openly, and does that lead to the intellectual development? Not only the food impacts, but also the environment, the ambience is there in the intellectual development of the student, right? But how do we measure it? How do we show it? How do we, what are the objectives first of all, and how are we going to do that? Yes. Yeah, somebody else. Yeah, Rama Gandotra has written about this. Okay, right. ठीक है. You may think about it maybe later on. If not now, immediately you may not be able to think about it. So when we write the research question, then I define my investigation and I have a hypothesis also, right? The hypothesis can be, as you know, the hypothesis is an intelligent guess. So in a hypothesis, what we do is, for example, we say that the college canteen is a place where intellectual and social development of the student takes place. So that is the hypothesis, right? And then we statement of intent of the project and connection between the research question and the title, they can be done in this research question. Next, please. Next slide. Yeah. Now, in the proposal, the first part is that of an introduction, as in any composition. कोई भी composition होती है, उसका first part is always an introduction, which introduces the topic, gives you some background, and tells you about why is this project important. As I said, why is it worthwhile? Why do you, if you find out, for example, the panelists can ask you, let us say we give you the funding, and then you go and find out the college canteen does have a role to play. So what? Why do you think it is worthwhile? Right? Why do you think it is worth funding or worth exploring or worth putting your time and money into it? So, do you have answers to that question? Do you think that this research question is so important that it really needs to be looked into? So, this you have to justify. And that justification we usually done in the introduction, right? So, we put it in a context. Context means we put it in a framework and we try to make it clear as to the evaluator, to somebody who is reading in the introduction. So all these things in introduction means introducing the topic, giving them background, justifying your thing. Yes, next please. Okay. Then as I said comes the literature review, which informs about the major developments in the field, and it also establishes our credibility as a player. Now credibility means that you are trustworthy, right? when we through our literature review, as I said, we can give a good impression of look to the panelists that I have read everything, all the key research that has taken place in this area. Now, I know about what I'm going to do, and so therefore you must, when you write this literature review, you must have an idea of what studies have been placed before you and what are the field has moved, what is the history of the moving of the field, and you must be aware about all the important findings in that. Not sometimes what happens, students are totally unaware of the main writers, main authors, main workers, or main thinkers, or main researchers in that field. So if you go like that, then people would always say, funders would say that, oh, you do not have any idea about the field. Yes, next slide. Okay. Then we come to the theoretical perspectives. That means that for every research, there is a theory behind it. So situate your study in a conceptual and a theoretical framework. That is very much important, because whenever we do academic research, in academic research, there are other kinds of research also. For example, action research is there, in which we actually focus more on the action and less on the theory. But if you are going to do an academic research, then you have to look at the theoretical framework, which is some kind of a theory has to be built. Situate your concept, situate your study in a conceptual and a theoretical framework. And that the idea which informs you, the idea that you have taken, what is the theory which is the underlying theory, or which directs your study, that has to be informed, that has to be given and set in that context. Your idea has to be situated in that context. Next slide. Okay, and then we come to the methodology. Methodology, I think most of you are already aware of that. How do we do it? How can we find respondents? What are the ways through which I will collect data? How I will analyze, right? What are the exclusion criteria? Then clear and explicit and thorough description of how you will complete your project. The more thorough a methodology is, the better it is, because it gives a clear idea that you as a researcher have an idea, you are totally confident in the way in which you are going to take up the study, and you are totally aware of the ways or the statistical methods and how you will ultimately generate data. And the data, you have gone through the method yourself and you know about it. So methodology is, again, as I said, a very important aspect, and we should be aware of it, and we should write it in a very clear way. Next slide. Okay. Then there are limitations. What are the limitations in a research proposal? Mostly it is the time, because a research proposal is not something like a PhD work. Even PhD has got its limitation. A PhD, maybe you can spend only 5 years or 7 years into it. But a research proposal, again, is sometimes it's 1 year, sometimes it's 3 years. So the timeline that is there, it cannot be unlimited. So that limitation you have to tell them. The limitation of resource is there, geographical access is there. For example, you cannot go to certain places, or you cannot the geographical boundaries which are there, they have to be looked into, that which institutes you can go, and what are the access, where will you get access. Organizational issues are there, and you have to ensure the utility of the findings, that whatever findings you will find out, how much example, if it's a very local study, can that local study be applied to people everywhere in India, or to all organization? If we find that this canteen study is good for a small place in Punjab, can it be applied across the states or not? So these kind of generalizability has to be ensured, because if you just say, if you have to study only a local phenomena, that can also be done, but then you should have a good justification for it, right? So there would be that also brings, as I said, credibility to your writing. Next slide. Right. And ethical considerations are there. If you are using human participants or animals, that has to be there. Integrity and responsibility have to be there. You have to ensure that if it is human respondents, then confidentiality, privacy, all these things are to be maintained, and how you will no harm should come to the respondents, and how, or maybe animals, what are the things that you will be doing. So these ethical considerations are very much needed, and mostly it is greatly appreciated if you have already written them, or passed it through an ethical committee. Next slide, please. Right. And finally comes the timeline. Timeline is very much important in a research proposal, because if you are getting funding, so you have to tell them that within how many months, how many years you are giving back the findings to that body, or you cannot just take it unlimited time, you cannot take. So that timeline is very much important. Mostly it is given in a tabular form. That means it is a table in which you write that within the first 6 months I'm going to do this, and within next 6 months. So all these, it is a phased thing. So first phase, second phase, third phase, this is the way in which you can write about it, and it conforms to the deadlines. The plan has to be realistic. This also I have discussed earlier, that if you write the timeline, just think upon your mind, but also remember you should keep a handsome margin in your time, because what happens is, usually as students or as first time researchers, we do not have an idea of how much time it takes, for example, even to distribute a questionnaire and get back that questionnaire. Or maybe if the questionnaire is very big, you will not find enough respondents, and you would have to pursue it aggressively. So for these things, a margin has to be taken, and sometimes there are unprecedented things which happen. For example, our students are now not able to do their proposals or projects because of this pandemic situation. So we have not thought about it. These kind of unprecedented things are also there. So you have to keep some margin, so that it should not be, it should be practical also, it should be realistic also, not very much long, not very much short, but in a balanced way. We should tell that this is the timeline according to which I will be working. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, mainly the researchers, the first time researcher are confused about the budget, because how much budget we should keep for it. That is one question that comes to your mind. Usually what happens, the agencies which are there, they already tell you that your proposal should be within 1 lakh or this much amount. So that is already there. For example, minor research project earlier, there was a certain limitation for science disciplines, for non-science disciplines, because in science disciplines there is more expenditure related to equipment, lab maintaining, chemicals, etc. So different budget is for science, but it should be very, whatever budget you provide, it should be very realistic. Usually it helps. For example, if you say that I am going to buy a recorder, voice recorder for this, or a camera for my this thing. So what you can do is, you can attach some brochures of companies, or some information about the price of that camera, or price of that equipment, or price of that voice recorder that you really want to buy for your you can also attach those along with your budget, so that when you present your budget, it looks as if it is realistic. Many people are very much surprised that you actually do not earn anything from the research proposal or research project that you do. You do not earn any salary or an honorarium, you do not get it personally. But what you get is the support that is needed. For example, support in the form of equipments, chemicals, books, secretarial assistance, paper, stationery, or travel, all these kind of things. Administrative support is there. So you have to tell about what are the expenditure, what are the how much amount you want to spend on it, and you have to be very real, not only realistic, but sometimes what happens is, for first time researcher, what happens is they forget certain things. Like, I once found one of my student was submitting a research proposal, found that she has not taken into account the photostat expenditure, which would amount to around 50,000 rupees, because it was a big questionnaire. She had to go to many places, which was actually around which would cost her around 50,000 rupees, but she has forgotten actually to put it there in the proposal. So you have to be very calmly, coolly think about what is the expenditure that you would incur and put it in the budget, and it should be a very appropriate and suitable budget. Next slide. Right. So this is all that you have to write, but the main important is you have to follow the instructions. First of all, the word limit. As I said, many proposals tell you that this is the word limit. You have to submit your proposal within 2000 words, or you have to submit an abstract of 500 words and within the deadlines. So that deadline has to be maintained, and that word limit also has to be maintained. When we write, happens is most of the time I have seen my students doing this, that they when they write in a way which is quite vague, confusing, not clear. We have to write as if the person who is reading is a non-expert. What we jokingly say is, you have to actually write the proposal and run it through at your home and give it to some family member, maybe to your spouse, or maybe give it to your mother. So if your mother is able to read it, understand it, then we say that you have written very properly. Because by mother, what we say is that anybody who is not at all in that field, if a person who is not in the field, who is not an expert, and still be able to read your draft and understand what it asks, what it says, then you have written a really effective proposal. A proposal should not have a lot of jargon, lot of difficult words, and lot of complication and convoluted sentences. It should be very clear. That clarity is an added advantage of a good. Because sometimes what happens is most of the students are under the impression that writing a very dense or incomprehensible document is sign of a very intellectual writing. But it is not like that. The more simple you are in writing, it means the better you understand the topic. So when you write for a non-expert. Non-expert means anybody can read it and understand what you want to do. So for that, you might have to explain certain things. You have to start from the beginning, but that you have to do. But and come only when you write once. You have to draft and redraft. Sometimes you have to write at least 3 drafts. Size and proper writing. Are you ready to do hard work? Because feel very impatient when they are writing. You have to write in that you once and twice and edit it, read it again, and sometimes you have to take so that they can do and tell you that there are certain confusing or ambiguous, and that they can tell you and you can correct it, right? So this is what happens is, mostly I found in all colleges, or in rural college does not have any kind of support or resource that they can give to you. They cannot even give to you a laptop or a desktop. And sometimes I have gone to colleges where teachers do not have the same resource to say. How can we expect teachers to do research by sitting in such places where by being where they are not even place to sit? So in such cases, it is very much important that we have one or two or three with us, proposal, submit proposal, and we do not have much colleges. To help each other and support each other. along with you, because it is very much easy when we have people working together, motivate each other, and they attain that spirit. Needed to write up the proposal, and that kind of a spirit has to be enough that in a steam, in a you have enthusiasm.
Sorry, ma'am, your voice is cracking.
Writing and submitting later on when you are done with us, so you can experiment that way also. Next, please.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Next slide, please. Right. So these are some of the references that are there. As I said, there are so many ideas. There are so many. Right. Next slide. Right. This is the last slide. Okay. Books available. There are so many resources available on the website and on the net that you can find out from there much more about research. And you can just
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, that was the last slide.
Thank you, ma'am. It was such an interactive and informative
I
lecture.
think the questions.
So now we
Then
will have a
I
question
would
answer session.
to speak more.
I think there's some network issue at your end. If you could just switch off your video, then I think your voice will be more clear.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yes.
Right.
Should we start with the question answer session, ma'am?
So yes, yes. Yeah. By the time we get some questions, I would just like to tell you funding agencies. For example, one of the funding agencies has been UGC, and UGC has been giving minor research projects and major research projects. But since a few years, 2, 3 years, these have not been continued, and we can't find them now anymore. Minor research projects. I don't know. Maybe it will come up again. But bodies like ICSSR or different subject associations are also there, which give you research funding. And you can search on the net. There are very small bodies also which can give you small amount. For example, there are this child right commission on child right. These are small. Now commission on child right are always almost in every state. Now it is by law, it is necessary that we should have a commission for child rights in every state. So we have one in Chandigarh, we have in Punjab, in other states also. So these bodies also bring out bring they request for they give you small amount, 20,000, 30,000 to 50,000. Sometimes teachers are really very much afraid of taking of bigger amounts. For example, 10 lakhs, 5 lakhs, because it is very difficult to manage them. Then you also need a lot of paraphernalia. Sometimes you need to do recruitments for that. So instead of that, I would say instead of going to a big amount project, start with a very small amount. And for example, there are subjects in which we don't need a lot of amount. Subjects in social sciences where you would need only a small amount to maybe say a little assistance or a little that, you can just start with small amount, and then once you have done it, different funding agencies for social sciences, as I told you, that ICSSR is one, which is social sciences, the main funding agency is ICSSR. Otherwise, as I am telling you, that there are many small agencies. For example, DST is there, Department of Science and Technology, which gives you small funding for small projects, not very big one. Have then we have the science mission, as I told you. Then again, Victoria and Albert Museum. There is another fund. There are many funding agencies. I would say there can, you can just try to find out on the net, and you will find. And I as I said, don't go for the academic agencies only. You would just try to find out some other. For example, this. Victoria and Albert Museum in London, and there is a Nehru collection, which is called, there is a collection which calls that Nehru collection for Victoria and Albert Museum. Now this you a small amount of funding for doing art related, fine arts related projects. There's people in sociology, people in anthropology, they can go for these kind of projects. So there is unlimited number of projects. You don't have to go for very big ones, right? What I would again suggest is, and even before that, as I was discussing, it is very much necessary to create an ecosystem of research in which people's mindset is about doing research, doing small. If you start with doing small research, and I am very much confident about this, that small research is easy to handle, and it gives you all kinds of skills that are needed. So once you have done that small research, for that I would say even management of the colleges, they can also have small research grant which is given to the of their careers. Maybe even 5,000, 10,000 amount would be enough for them to actually feel encouraged and start with that research. So what I would suggest is that go for very small things first, and then when you are confident, you can take up other research proposal, bigger ones, right? And also sometimes you don't even want, there are agencies which will not give you any money, but they are very much, for example, United Nations. They hardly give you any money, but if you do some kind of research for United Nations, that would be really something very much prestigious for you. So there are such agencies also which need researchers in different prestige and authority you can get. Also sometimes even Punjab University Alumni Association, they also have small projects for their alumni. Small project amount, for example, 20,000, 30,000 they can give. Right? So you can have, I would say to the IQAC that this IQAC cell can actually start collecting information about their college teachers, which subjects they are from, and which funding agencies they can find out for them. So this can be a small amount of research, a small research can be done into it, and then that information can be disseminated to the teachers, so that they can, if they cannot find funding agencies themselves, they can at least find, you can just help them in finding it. Yes. Anybody else? I would say my PPTs are there, though not much is in them, but they can be distributed and they can be given to others. Otherwise, don't be disheartened by, if you don't find anything else. There is a lot of information on the internet, and if you really want to learn, you can learn many things among very different. Yeah, research, the culture of research is, yeah. Okay, yeah, this archaeological research, look, I am not into it, but I can find out for you. I have my email with Dr. Preeti. She can share with you, and you can always ask. Yeah, you are asking me that for ethical approval is needed or not. I find that I am of the understanding that when we do any kind of research in the university, in our university, we have to pass that research through an ethical committee. So for all kinds of research, you have to take ethical approval. This is my understanding. I don't know, if maybe I am not right, but as far as I understand, nowadays ethical approval has become indispensable, and it is mandatory. It is mandatory. Otherwise, yeah. About what are the other question?
Ma'am, one of the participants
Yeah.
wants to know, do we write
Uh,
research questions and hypotheses both in the research proposal, or are these terms interchangeable?
Yeah, these terms are interchangeable because sometimes there is the research question and hypothesis are almost the same thing, because hypothesis is an assumption. For example, when we write a hypothesis, it is an assumption. For example, the subject that we discussed here, in that we wrote the hypothesis would be a college canteen, uh, a college canteen helps in the social, intellectual, and nutritional development of a student. So this is the hypothesis. It's a statement, right? Now, if you want to write a research question out of it, then you would write, how does a college canteen help in the nutritional development of a student? How does a college canteen help in the social development of a student, or in the so it is a question. It is through a question that we are inquiring into it, and hypothesis is a statement. We again
Ma'am, you are not audible.
keeping the hypothesis statement, which again finding that is prove or disprove it through the evidences that we have. That is the only some. I'm not sorry for this because
We do understand, ma'am.
yeah,
Should I
yes,
take the another question?
yes. Some
Threat,
people are
threat,
asking, yeah.
theoretical framework or and review of literature is correlated because certain research papers carry sections like theoretical framework and review of literature. So are these
Okay,
two related?
right. Okay. What you are saying is theoretical framework and review of
Review
literature are
of
the same thing.
literature. Yes.
Are the same thing. This is what you are asking. Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
you.
There are
I
certain
would say
research papers because certain research papers carries sections like theoretical framework and review of literature also. So are they are
right.
correlated or they are separate?
Yeah, let me explain. Uh, Review of literature is actually what happens is whatever research work we have taken, somebody has already done in some way, one or the other way. It's a very humbling uh, realization that whatever you do, whatever kind of research you have taken, somebody else before you, earlier you, some researcher might have done it in some way or the other, right? That researcher may be from your country, from some other country, but somebody might have looked into it. So when we start doing our research, that we know that what have the other people done earlier than me, and how can I take that research a little forward? Because in the academic research, we call it pushing the boundaries of knowledge. So when we push the boundaries of knowledge, first of all, we should know what are the boundaries of knowledge. So a review of literature helps us in giving and making us understand what is that boundary of knowledge, till what limit or till what boundary that thing has been done, and from there we can undertake it further. But when we write a theoretical underpinning, what we do is, what idea we have, a practical idea we have, usually there is a theoretical framework behind it. But again, as I said, that it is not true for some disciplines, it would be true for certain disciplines. So that theoretical framework we place so that we from that theoretical foundation we are doing our research, and it doesn't mean that we have to actually we are bound to that theoretical framework, but we can also bring changes, modifications, or more insights into that theoretical framework. But there is a difference between review of literature and theoretical framework, as far as I understand. Right?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Some
Dr.
people are
Ranju
asking.
Patel has raised the hand.
Yeah. Please ask you any question.
Dr. Ranju Patyal, you may unmute yourself.
मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि यदि मैंने कोई प्रोजेक्ट लेना है तो सेम यूनिवर्स अगर हमने प्रोजेक्ट लेना है सिंगल डबल पर्सन है तो हम अलग अलग यूनिवर्सिटीज के टीचर्स ले सकते हैं।
हाँ जी, मैं आपको बताती हूँ। आजकल ना ये जो कोलैबोरेटिव रिसर्च है इसके ऊपर बहुत ज़्यादा इम्फेसिस है। पहले क्या होता था कि थोड़े सालों पहले मैं लेट अस से 15-20 साल पहले अगर कोई आदमी ये कहता था कि
Yeah.
मैं तो एक रिसर्च, हाँ जी, आई एम अ रिसर्चर और मेरे को मेरे सब्जेक्ट में जो है साइकोलॉजी भी बीच में आ रही है, तो अब जैसे मान लो ये कैंटीन वाला रिसर्च है, सो यहाँ पे देखो एक आपको न्यूट्रिशनिस्ट चाहिए, इसमें आपको एक आदमी साइकोलॉजिस्ट चाहिए, एक सोशियोलॉजिस्ट चाहिए। तो अगर आप कहते हो कि जी हम 3 लोग मिलके हम ये रिसर्च करना चाहते हैं बिकॉज देयर इज एन एक्सपर्ट, आई एम अ सोशियोलॉजिस्ट बट आई एम नॉट एन एक्सपर्ट इन साइकोलॉजी, right? So it would be perfectly all right if you can take people from other areas. Not only that, it is rather welcome and encouraged, है ना? और दूसरी यूनिवर्सिटी के भी वो हो सकते हैं, कोलीग जो है आजकल तो ऑनलाइन ही चीजें होती हैं, दूसरी यूनिवर्सिटी के भी हो सकते हैं, राइट? उसमें इशू ये होता है कि जिस आदमी ने रिसर्च लेना,
यस मैम।
Ma'am, you are not audible.
जिसके नाम
You are
पे वो
not
रिसर्च होगा, for
audible.
example, so it is only about the financial accountability, right? Okay.
ओके।
हेलो,
हाँ जी,
हेलो।
ma'am, हाँ
इज
जी।
इट ऑलराइट? हाँ जी, ठीक है ना?
Yes.
हाँ, तो
यस
उसमें क्या होता है अब, हाँ जी, 2 मिलके
ओके मैम।
इसके नाम रिसर्च दिया जाएगा। वो फाइनेंशियल अकाउंटेबिलिटी किसकी होगी? इट हैज टू बी क्लियरली
मैम
मेंशन,
नॉट ऑडिबल टू मी।
है ना, कि फाइनेंशियली वो किससे पूछेंगे। जब फॉर एग्जांपल जब आप ये लेते हैं प्रोजेक्ट लेने के बाद, अरे जस्ट अ मोमेंट, आई एम चेंजिंग माय नेट, आई एम चेंजिंग माय नेट, गिव मी अ मोमेंट। Yes, please. I have tried to correct it. Yes. हेलो, हाँ जी,
Yes,
अब
ma'am.
सुन रहा जी?
जी मैम।
यस मैम।
सो हाँ जी, तो डॉक्टर पटियाल ये इसमें यही है कि यू हैव टू गिव द फाइनेंशियल अकाउंटेबिलिटी, कि उसकी जो बजट, जो भी पैसा आपको दिया जाएगा उसकी अकाउंटेबिलिटी आपस में किसकी होगी। लोग काम तो इकट्ठे कर सकते हैं, कोलैबोरेशन में आराम से कर सकते हैं, उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, बट वो आप शुरू में ही जब आप इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स बताते हैं अपने, एट दैट टाइम यू डिसाइड एंड यू टेल द एजेंसी दैट दीज आर द 3 पीपल हु वुड बी वर्किंग, और इसका ये एक्सपर्टीज है, ये इसका एक्सपर्टीज है, इस तरह से। Yes, any more questions?
Yes, ma'am. One more question.
Yeah.
One of the participants wants to know, nowadays culture of research is slowly declining among the faculty members of different colleges or universities. What could be the probable reason for the same?
Look, what my experience with working with teachers says that one of the reason is we are not giving enough research skills to our students who ultimately become teachers. ठीक है ना? जब वो टीचर्स भी बन रहे हैं, मैंने ऐसे भी देखा है कि लोग पीएचडी भी करके आ रहे हैं, बट दे हैव वेरी स्कैंट नॉलेज ऑफ रिसर्च मेथडोलॉजी। साउंड मेथडोलॉजी जो है वो उनको बिल्कुल भी नहीं आती है। एंड इवन आजकल इतना इजी हो गया है कि स्टैटिस्टिकली भी, स्टैटिस्टिक्स भी आपका सब सॉफ्टवेयर वगैरह बन चुके हैं, बट दे हैव नो आइडिया ऑफ व्हाट इज द इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ स्टैटिस्टिक्स। तो ये जो हम अपने स्टूडेंट्स को देखिए, रिसर्च स्किल में क्या चीजें आती हैं। वन ऑफ द स्किल इज राइट रीडिंग, राइट, इंटरप्रेटिंग, क्रिटिकिंग, क्वेश्चनिंग, ये सारी चीजें ही हम अपने स्टूडेंट्स को सिखा नहीं रहे हैं। और इस वजह से जो है जब वो टीचर भी, बिकॉज रिसर्च इज समथिंग विच इज वेरी ब्यूटीफुल एंड देयर इज a lot of happiness and joy in research. So what I would like to ask you is that अपने स्टूडेंट्स को आप रिसर्च का जो जॉय है, उसका जो आनंद है, वो बताना सीख, वो उसको लेना सिखाइए, राइट? इट डजंट गिव यू मच मनी। नहीं है कि हम रिसर्च कमा लेते हैं या फिर हमारे कितने पेटेंट निकल जाएंगे या हमारा पेपर बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाएगा। इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट, बट व्हेन अ गुड रिसर्च पेपर इज पब्लिश्ड इट रियली गिव्स यू एन वेरी जॉयस फीलिंग। और इवन नॉट पब्लिश्ड, इवन इफ यू व्हेन यू डू रिसर्च, और जब आपको उसमें कोई इंसाइट मिलता है, छोटी छोटी चीज़ें उसके अंदर आपको निकलती हैं, तो आपको जो खुशी मिलती है, वो जो उस जॉय को अनुभव करना हम अपने स्टूडेंट्स को नहीं सिखाते। हम अपने बच्चों को, अपने स्टूडेंट को यही सिखाते हैं कि मॉल पे जाके बहुत मज़ा आता है, या कोई चीज़ खा के मज़ा आता है, या फिल्म देख के, या कोई चीज़ खरीद के मज़ा आता है। बट जो जॉय इन सारी सिंपल चीज़ों में मिलता है, रिसर्च में, इंटेलेक्चुअल डेलिब्रेशंस में, डिबेट्स में, आर्ग्यूमेंट्स में, अपना पॉइंट डिफेंड करने में, वो आनंद भी हमें इनको लेना सिखाना चाहिए। एक तो वो आनंद की कमी हो रही है क्योंकि लोग इतने सेंटर्ड हो गए हैं, सेल्फ सेंटर्ड, कि भाई हमें तो बस ये कोई चीज़ मिलेगी वापस तभी हम करेंगे। दूसरा, जब लोगों ने अब एपीआई और उसके ऊपर ही फोकस सारा कर लिया, दैट रिसर्च इज फॉर दैट पर्पस ओनली, तो उसमें जो एक्चुअल रिसर्च और रिसर्च का जो मज़ा है, उसमें लोगों ने उस आनंद को लेना अब छोड़ दिया है। सो दे ओनली थिंक दैट, एंड अगेन आई वुड से दैट इवन आवर कॉलेजेस एंड मैनेजमेंट्स आर नॉट वेरी मच एनकरेजिंग और फैसिलिटेटिंग टुवर्ड्स रिसर्च। रिसर्च करने में टाइम भी लगता है, पेशेंस भी लगता है, पैसा भी लगता है, और उसके अंदर सपोर्ट आपको बहुत बड़ा चाहिए। सो दैट इज नीडेड फ्रॉम एवरीबडी, फ्रॉम राइट फ्रॉम द मैनेजमेंट टू फैमिली पीपल। हर एक आदमी जब तक नहीं करता, एंड इफ यू लुक एट पीपल हु डू रिसर्च एंड हु रियली change the world with their research, you would find that they are so much dedicated and devoted towards research. हम सारी चीज़ें नहीं कर सकते। हमारे को अगर रिसर्च सच में करना है, यू हैव टू बी डेडिकेटेड टुवर्ड्स दैट, यू हैव टू थिंक अबाउट इट ऑल द टाइम। आपको आइडियाज सोचने हैं, आपको उसका सोल्यूशन सोचना है, यू हैव टू थिंक अबाउट इट ऑल द टाइम। तो एक तो मुझे ये लगता है कि एक तो क्वेश्चनिंग स्पिरिट नहीं है हमारे अंदर। मुझे आई कैन सी रिसर्च आइडियाज एवरीवेयर, एवरीवेयर, whether you are sitting on a bus stand, whether you are going on the road, you will find research ideas everywhere, whether you belong to any discipline, if you really have your eyes open. But you cannot actually, but people say that we can't find any because they are not thinking. So what I would say is, as teachers, it is our duty to think, it is our duty to question, and it is our duty to critique. ये वाले जो स्किल्स हैं, अगर हम इनको डेवलप कर लें तो हो जाएगा। और दूसरी बात है, आई थिंक एवरी टीचर और अ ग्रुप ऑफ टीचर्स, है ना, एक आदमी के लिए मुश्किल है, लेकिन अगर ग्रुप ऑफ टीचर्स 2-4 मिल जाए जो सिमिलर माइंडसेट के हों, तो वो एक चेंज ला सकते हैं कॉलेज में। एक रिसर्च माइंडसेट जो है वो शुरू कर सकते हैं। छोटी छोटी चीज़ें चाहिए, एंड आई थिंक IQAC has their role cut out. I think it is their duty to cultivate and to create this kind of an environment, an ecosystem in the college, which helps everybody and which facilitates the development of this research orientation or research approach. I think that would be enough.
Sure, ma'am. Our college IQAC will work on it. I think we have finished with the questions. Is there any other participants who want to ask something from ma'am?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes,
I have a
please.
question.
Yes,
Ma'am,
please.
is there any private agency for the funding?
Right. You have put this question here. I can see. Actually, I am not sure. I can't answer you just now, but I know that private agencies are also there. मैं अभी तो नहीं आपको जवाब दे सकती. You can take my email, and I think my email can be given to anybody. Dr. Preeti, you can just share it. with
Sure,
anybody. Maybe I
ma'am.
write
We'll
it
share
in
it in the group.
and I can we can find out together, है ना. कई चीजें होती हैं बाद में आपको आती हैं, या कई बार आपको इन पे ख्याल नहीं आता. So Amit ji, I do not have an idea just now, but I am sure that there are private agencies, and I'll let you know about them.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Right, I'll write my. We have to actually create a colleagueship. Sometimes what happens in the college is one person gets something, but they are not ready to share things. So अगर हम इस तरह से करेंगे तो फिर हम जो है वो एक जो डेवलपमेंट नहीं होता है, जो कोलीगशिप जैसे ही आपका आता है कॉलेज में या डिपार्टमेंट में, जब एक दूसरे की हेल्प करना हम सीख लेंगे, एक दूसरे के साथ शेयर करना, या अगर आपको कोई चीज़ आती है आप दूसरे को सिखा दीजिए, दूसरे को आती है वो आपको सिखा देगा. These are great things and these help college in many ways. So I would say that all the administrators, all the management, they should look into these things and they should try to create a good environment in the college. सब कुछ हो जाएगा, रिसर्च भी आने लगेगी, फंडिंग भी आने लगेगी, but first we have to create that very much mandatory and indispensable thing that is needed in the colleges. So thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
I
ma'am.
think there are certain things that still remain to be discussed. I'm sure I'll find out the things and I'll get back to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a wonderful session. I hope this will help the research scholars and the other teachers to improve their research work. So, it is informed to all the participants that feedback link has been shared in the chat box. So, I request Sugandha ma'am to again share that link. That link will be open for 20 minutes only. You are supposed to submit that feedback within that time limit. After that, that link will be disabled. So now I request Dr. Ankita Gupta, HOD Department of English, GGDST College, Khedipunna, to present a vote of thanks.
Good morning. Ma'am, I've been trying to switch on the video, but I think due to network connections, I'll only switch on the audio mode so that
No
I'm
issues,
audible.
ma'am. Okay.
Our most valued resource person, Dr. Jayanti Datta, Deputy Director, HRDC, Punjab University, Chandigarh, all the dignitaries, participants, faculty members, and research scholars. I am Dr. Ankita, Head and Assistant Professor, Department of English at GGDSD College, Banur. It has indeed been a scholarly morning, and I'm extremely humbled and honored to be presenting this vote of thanks after such an engrossing and intellectually stimulating session. We deem it our proud privilege to have had Dr. Jayanti with us today and be able to listen to her wise inputs in the area of research projects and procuring funds for them. We are greatly thankful of you, ma'am, for adorning the session and enlightening us with your erudition and experience. Your thoughts have certainly shown us the new paths pertaining to research funding and developing realistic research proposals. No words can suffice gratitude towards Principal Professor Dr. Rama Arora, without whose commitment the FDP wouldn't have been concretized and remained a vague idea itself. Thank you, ma'am, for providing such a great learning platform to all of us. We are fortunate to be supported by a very active and dedicated IQAC cell and its members who are well versed in their jobs. Thank you to the entire team for making this virtual experience a grand success. I would also appreciate the chairperson for the first technical session, Dr. Preeti Arora, for making the smooth conduct of the session possible. And last but not the least, the participants, the learners, for their willingness to join the session, being highly interactive and dynamic. Thank you, one and all. Over to you, Dr. Preeti.
Thank you, ma'am. So it was such a wonderful session. Thank you, Dr. Jayanti ma'am, for joining us today. Over to Dr. Meenakshi.